Please like my videos, please subscribe to my channel, and please press the bell icon so that you get to know when my latest video has come. And to learn more and to find a video relevant to you, please do check out my videos list.
Hello, namaskar and adab to all my friends from your friend astrologer and guide Irfan, once more with you from your very own channel, Astro Assurance. We always look forward to dashas and antardashas. We also look forward to the dasha of benefics and we expect certain results from them. However, we don't always get the results of the benefic planets or the so-called challenging results of malefic planets as we expect them to behave like their energies are known for during the dashas, antardashas, or during important transits, or when a certain yoga or a dosha is activated also because of the dasha or antardasha or an important transit. Now, why is it that planets sometimes don't seem to behave the way naturally that we expect them to behave? And why is it that they may give us different results from what they normally tend to give us as we expect them or as we know them for? So one of the things that we need to look at is, at a nakshatra level, what are the energies that the planets give to each other or donate or exhibit to each other because of how they influence each other. So when you look at, we have 27 nakshatras and they are ruled by just 9 planetary entities or 9 heavenly bodies. So starting with Ketu, then Venus, then Sun, then Moon, then Mars, then Rahu, then Jupiter, then Saturn, then Mercury, one after the other, we see that nakshatras are ruled by 9 and again the next 9 nakshatras are ruled again by the same pattern and then the same pattern. So if we put all of them into 3 concentric circles, which means that the first nakshatra, the second layer has the second nakshatra layer, and the third concentric circle has the third nakshatra layer, where the first circle, the second circle and the third circle all have the nakshatras ruled by the same planet. Then we'll find that we have 3 concentric circles with 9 divisions each of the planets having the same energies. And then when we add up all the energies, say for example of Ketu. Now Ketu rules the first nakshatra, which is Ashwini, which is number 1. Ketu rules the 10th nakshatra, which is Magha, and Ketu also rules the 19th nakshatra, which is Mula. So when we add them together, 1, 10 and 19, what do we get? We get the number 30, which means the 30 figure is the highest energy which is exhibited by Ketu. And 30 numbers, we don't have 30 nakshatras, but when we reduce 30 to 3 and 0 added together, we get 3, which means the third nakshatra ruler, whichever is the third nakshatra ruler, Ketu at its highest energies behaves like the third nakshatra. Now which is the third nakshatra? The third nakshatra is the nakshatra of Kritika, and Kritika is ruled by Sun, which means at its highest energy Ketu behaves like the Sun. And if we then reduce it to its lowest energies, how do we reduce it to its lowest energies? You subtract the energies of the first and the second level of nakshatra from the third one, which means subtract the energies of Ashwini, subtract the energies of Magha from the energies of Mula, which means subtract the number 1 and 10 from the number 19, which is represented by Mula. Then if you subtract 1 from 19 and 10 from 19, what you get? That means you are subtracting 11 from the number 19, so you end up with the number 8. Now, which is the nakshatra, which is the ruler of the nakshatra, which is represented by the number 8, the nakshatra which is ruled by or represented by the number 8 at its meanest level, at its lowest energy level, is ruled by Saturn. And so Ketu at its lowest energy levels or at its most minimal energy level acts like Saturn, which rules the 8th nakshatra, which is Pushya, which means that you will find that during your dashas and antardashas, sometimes Ketu will act like itself, or it can either act like the energies of the Sun or act like the energies of Saturn. So let's take examples and let's do some calculations. I have worked out a certain structural pattern where we can look into and delve deeply into each of these energy levels, and then fathom for ourselves, find for ourselves which planet will exhibit at its highest energy levels what are the energies it represents, and at its lowest energy levels what does it represent. So if you look at the nakshatras and how they are divided in the zodiac, we find that the nakshatra number 1, the nakshatra number 10 and the nakshatra number 19, these three are all ruled by Ketu. The nakshatra 2, 11 and 20 are all ruled by Venus. The nakshatras 3rd, 12 and 21 are all ruled by Sun, and the nakshatra 4, 13 and 22 are all ruled by the Moon, and the nakshatras 5, 14 and 23 are all ruled by Mars. The nakshatras number 6, 15, 24 ruled by Rahu, whereas the nakshatras 7, 16, 25 are ruled by Jupiter. The nakshatras 8, 17th and 26th are ruled by Saturn, and the nakshatras 9, 18 and 27 are ruled by Mercury. So if you look at the nakshatras ruled by Ketu, number 1, 10 and 19, which are Ashwini, Magha and Mula. The nakshatras 2, 11 and 20 are ruled by Venus, which are Bharani, which are Purva Falguni and which are Purva Ashada. Then the nakshatras ruled by Sun, which are the 3rd, 12 and 21, which is Kritika, Uttar Falguni and Uttar Ashada, and so on. And then if you see and if you plot them on a concentric circle where all the three numbered nakshatras ruled by the same planet is kept within the same concentric circle, and if you add the numbers of the three nakshatras, what do we get? The total energies when you add up 1, 10 and 19 of Ketu, we add up 2, 11 and 20 of Venus, and so on. Then for Ketu, when you add 1, 10 and 19, we get 30. So the total or the highest energy of Ketu is 30. When you add 2, 11 and 20, we get 33. So the highest energy of Venus is 33. When you add the 3rd nakshatra number, the 12th nakshatra and the 21st nakshatra numbers, we add them 3 together, we get 36. So the highest energy of Sun is 36, the highest energy of Moon is 39, the highest energy of Mars is 42, the highest energy of Rahu is 45, the highest energy of Jupiter is 48, the highest energy of Saturn is 51, and the highest energy of Mercury is 54. Which means that when you add these together to get a final nakshatra number, we get 3 and 0, the highest nakshatra energy of Ketu. When you add them together, we get 3 and 0 is 3, and the 3rd nakshatra is ruled by Sun. When you add the 33 highest energy of Venus, you add them together, 3 plus 3, we get 6, and the 6th nakshatra is ruled by Rahu, which means the highest energy of Ketu, at its highest energy, Ketu acts like the Sun. At its highest energy, Venus acts like Rahu. At its highest energy, Sun acts like Mercury, and so on. Now, why does Ketu act like the Sun at its highest energy? Because Ketu represents moksha and giving up. And what is Sun? Sun is nothing but the soul. So, Ketu's objective at its highest level of energy is to act like the soul. The soul needs moksha. Now, what is Venus? Venus is nothing but materialism. So at its highest energy of 6, represented by the nakshatra Rahu, thus at its highest energy Venus acts like Rahu, which means Venus at its highest energy acts with the same greed, hunger for materialistic pursuits as Rahu. Whereas Sun, with its 36 energy, when you add them together, you get 9, which is the 9th nakshatra is ruled by Mercury, which means Sun at its highest energy is represented or has the energy of Mercury. But why Mercury? One, the planet closest to the Sun is Mercury, and the other, Mercury represents Buddhi. and Mercury is the only planet which rules the third sign and the sixth sign. The third sign is the sign of effort, and soul needs to put in the effort to do what? Which is represented by the second sign of Mercury, which is Virgo, which is the sixth sign of service to others. And the sixth house is also the Bhrigu Bhav, and that's why at the highest energy the sun or the soul acts with the service orientation and the effort orientation of Mercury. So at its highest energy, sun acts like Mercury, or expects one to act like Mercury, which is with the buddhi, with the logical reasoning. Then when you come to moon, when you look at the highest energy of moon, when you add 3 and 9 together, you get 12, which is nothing but a nakshatra ruled by sun. And so at its highest energy, the moon acts like the sun. One reason being is moon's highest luminosity after the sun comes from a reflected energy of the sun anyways. And second, when you look at the overall energies of moon, being the mother, the nourisher, and sun being the father, and so moon acts like the sun when the time comes to such an instance. So the mother can be the only one who acts like the father when the father is not around. So it's easier for a mother to be a father rather than a father to be a mother, the nurturer supreme. When you go to Mars, the highest energy of Mars is 42. When you add 4 and 2 together, you get 6, and the sixth nakshatra is again ruled by Rahu. But why does Mars act like Rahu at its highest energy? Mars is the goal orientation, and Mars gets into an assertive mode and a fighting mode to get what it wants to, and blindly goes without fearing to get what it wants. And Rahu is nothing but a similar energy. For its greed, for its hunger, for what it wants, it can delve into any kind of dangers, it can get into any kind of situation and can blindside a person. And that's why at its highest energy, Mars acts like Rahu. When you go to Rahu, Rahu's highest energy is at 45. When you add 4 and 5, you get 9, and the ninth nakshatra is ruled by Mercury. So at its highest energy also, Rahu is expected to act like Mercury. The reason being is twofold. One, Rahu is the only planet which can eclipse both the sun and the moon. Moon reflects the energy of the sun, whereas sun is the soul. So at its highest energy, because sun itself acts like Mercury, so Rahu is also expected to act like Mercury with the buddhi, with the logical reasoning. And also because Mercury is next to sun, or the closest planetary entity to the sun. When you look at the highest energy of Jupiter, when you add up the 7th nakshatra, the 16th nakshatra and the 25th nakshatra, you get 48. So the highest energy of Jupiter is 48, and when you add 4 and 8 together, we get 12. The 12th nakshatra is ruled by sun. So Jupiter at its highest energy also needs to act like the sun, or is expected to act like the sun, or acts like the sun, like the soul. And when you go to Saturn, all 3 nakshatras, when you add them together, you get 51. So the highest energy of Saturn is 51 energy levels, or the numbers is 51. When we add them together, we get the number 6, which represents the 6th nakshatra. It is Rahu. So Saturn also acts like Rahu at its highest energy, just like Rahu acts like Saturn. We also have the shloka Shanivata Rahu Kujvata Ketu, which automatically means that not only does Rahu act like Saturn, but at its highest energy, even Saturn acts like Rahu. And Saturn is nothing but dedication and commitment and discipline, but to do what? To achieve the goals. And Saturn also represents the karma. And what does Rahu represent in the horoscope? Rahu also represents the karma of this particular life. Ketu represents all that you have already achieved, all that is bygone, but Rahu represents that karma that you need to achieve in this world. And hence, while Saturn acts like Rahu at its highest energy, Rahu also reflects Saturn's energy, and hence both of them co-rule Aquarius also, which is also the Mool Trikona Rashi of Saturn. So when you look at the highest energies, the planets rule with the highest energies reflecting the energy of some other planetary entity. And the three common entities are Sun, Rahu and Mercury, which means that these three planetary bodies reflect the overall energy of the horoscope. And the only outlier here is Mercury. Mercury at its highest energy acts like Mercury, and that's why Mercury is the only planet which gets exalted in its own sign of Virgo, whereas no other planet gets exalted in its own sign except that of Mercury. So Mercury is an outlier amongst the planets, and Mercury is also a planet which scientifically also you see the orbit of Mercury is that of an ellipsis. Its orbit is most different from other planets, and in the ellipsis Mercury goes farthest away from the Sun in its orbit. At the same time it comes closest to the Sun also, as if it is trying to escape the gravity of the Sun. And so Mercury is a planet which controls or exhibits the energies of the Sun, the soul, but at the same time stands out as an outlier where most of the energy of the Sun is also expected to behave like Mercury at its highest level. Now when you look at the overall combination of energies at the lowest level, if you subtract, in this figure we can see that the highest nakshatra of Ketu is number 19, which is Mula. Highest nakshatra of Venus is 20. Highest nakshatra of Sun is the 21st nakshatra. So the highest nakshatras are in the outermost concentric circles, and then the innermost circle and the next circle after that are the two other nakshatras ruled by the particular planetary entity. So if we subtract the highest nakshatra energies and subtract the other two nakshatra energies from the highest, which means 19 minus 10 minus 1, and then from Venus, from 20 you subtract 11 and 2, from Sun you subtract 12 from 21 and again 3 from 21. What do we get? The number that we are left with is this. So 19 minus 10 minus 1, the highest nakshatra, then you subtract the other two nakshatra energies of Ketu, you are left with the number 8. Highest nakshatra energies of Venus, which is 20, you subtract the other two nakshatra energies, nakshatra number 2 and 11, you are left with the number 7. Then the highest nakshatra energies of Sun, which is 21, and then you subtract the other two nakshatra energies 12 and 3 from it, you are left with the number 6, and so on, till you end with Mercury, which when you subtract 18 from 27 and you subtract 9 from 27, you get 0. So again, at the highest energies Mercury becomes an outlier, and at its lowest energies also Mercury is an outlier, where it ends with itself with 0 energies and not reflecting anything else. So at its highest energy Mercury represents itself or acts like itself, and its lowest energy also Mercury acts like itself. And why do we say acts like itself? So for example, when you subtract the other two inner energy numbers of nakshatras from the outermost, you get 8 of Ketu. Now what is the 8th nakshatra? The 8th nakshatra is ruled by Saturn, which means at its lowest energy Ketu acts like Saturn. When you subtract the highest nakshatra 20 and from there you subtract the other two nakshatras of the level 1 and level 2 of nakshatra numbers from Venus, you end up with number 7. And which is the nakshatra, which is the ruler of the nakshatra number 7? That is Jupiter, which means at its lowest energies of nakshatra energies, Venus acts like Jupiter. Then when you subtract the innermost nakshatras from the outermost nakshatra of Sun, you end up with number 6, and the 6th nakshatra ruler is Rahu, which means Sun at its lowest energies acts like Rahu. Then Moon, when you subtract 4 and 13 from 22, it ends with number 5. 5th nakshatra is ruled by Mars, so Moon at its lowest energies acts like Mars. And if you look at Mars, when you subtract 14 and 5 innermost nakshatra energies from the outermost of 23, you end up with 4. And the fourth nakshatra, Rohini, is ruled by moon. So Mars at its lowest energies acts like moon. Then when you look at Rahu and you subtract the inner two nakshatras, number 6 and 15 from the outermost number 14, then you end up with number 3, and the third nakshatra ruler is Sun. So at its lowest energies, Rahu acts like Sun. And then when you go to Jupiter and you subtract number 7 nakshatra and number 16 nakshatra from the outermost 25th, then you end up with number 2, and the second nakshatra Bharani is ruled by Venus. So at its lowest energies, Jupiter acts like Venus. So when you look at Saturn then and you look at the innermost 8 and 17, subtracting with it from the 26th energy of the highest nakshatra energies of Saturn, you end up with number 1, and the first nakshatra is Ashwini, ruled by Ketu. So at its lowest energies, Saturn acts like Ketu. So at its highest energies, Saturn acts like Rahu, and its lowest energies, Saturn acts like Ketu. And then when you go to Mercury and you subtract 9 and 18 from 27, you end up with number 0. So which means Mercury acts like itself at its lowest energies, and Mercury acts like itself at its highest energies. So when you complete the entire exercise, this is the figure that you are left with. Here you can see that Mercury at its highest and its lowest energies acts like itself. Ketu at its highest energies acts like the Sun, and its lowest energies act like Saturn. Venus at its highest energies acts like Rahu, and at its lowest energies acts like Jupiter. Sun at its highest energies acts like Mercury, and its lowest energies acts like Rahu. Moon at its highest energies acts like Sun, at its lowest energies acts like Mars. Mars at its highest energies acts like Rahu, and its lowest energies acts like the Moon. Then Rahu at its highest energies acts like Mercury, and at its lowest energies acts like the Sun. Whereas Jupiter at its highest energy acts like the Sun, and its lowest energies acts like Venus. And Saturn at its highest energies acts like Rahu, and at its lowest energies acts like Ketu. Whereas Mercury, as we have said before, both at its highest energies, at its neutral energies, as well as its lowest energies, acts like itself. So the outlier here is Mercury. So when you look at the entire zodiac, you will see that at the highest level, Sun, Rahu and Mercury's energy shine, whereas at its lowest energy levels, most of the energies of the other planets shine. So you also can see Ketu here, Venus here, Sun here, Moon here, Mars here, Rahu here, Jupiter here, Saturn here, as well as Mercury here. So at its lowest energies, the planets also act like other energies, but at its highest energies, they act only like the three energies of Sun, Rahu and Mercury, and this has to be kept in mind. Which means when you look at your own horoscopes and when you look at how planets are placed in various houses, and when you look at how these are giving results, check out what energies that these planets are reflecting. How is that particular planet behaving? So if you find that Saturn is not behaving in its dasha or in its antardasha or in its transit like normally Saturn would behave, giving you a discipline, giving you an organized effort, giving you a commitment, giving you a loyalty, but making you act differently from how Saturn should act or the results that it should give, then look out for how is the person behaving or how you yourself are behaving in your Saturn dasha or antardasha. Is that energy which is reflecting, coming out like Rahu? For example, somebody who has a Sasha Yoga, which means Saturn is in its own sign in the Kendra houses, then the person, especially when Saturn is in the Sasha Yoga in the Lagna, can behave like Rahu in its dasha and its antardasha. So if you find that during the dasha or antardasha or during an important transit, Saturn acts or the person acts with more hunger, more greed, is becoming too manipulative, and that manipulative energy is coming to the fore, being too tactful and ready to bend the rules, ready to go out of the way to get what one wants, then Saturn is acting at its highest energy like Rahu. However, if during the dasha and antardasha of Saturn, you see that the person is still not able to push for what he wants, what he needs, seems to have less energy, seems like an icicle, not ready to take on more responsibilities, not ready to take on and ask for what one feels one deserves, not ready to push for growth, for discipline, for organization, for structure, for commitment, then means that Saturn is reflecting more the energy of Ketu rather than itself, or rather than at its highest energy Rahu. Similarly, all the planets in their highest and the lowest energies, especially during their dasha and antardashas, will reflect whether they are reflecting or showcasing or demonstrating their own energies or not, or demonstrating some other energies. So in the dasha and antardasha, say for example of benefic planets, you're not getting the benefic results. For example, during the dasha of Jupiter, or during the dasha of Moon, or during the dasha of Venus, you're not getting those results that you're expecting. Then you need to look at why the planet in its highest energies during its dasha or antardasha is not reflecting the results of itself, but different results. So for example, if during the dasha or antardasha of Venus you are not getting more materialistic benefits, then see whether Venus is acting as at its highest level, that of Rahu, which means in your hunger and your greed, you are either not looking at how you need to act with more moral and ethical standards, but you are going out of the way and you're trying to get things, and in that maybe you are rubbing people off, you are coming across as too greedy, too manipulative, and so people are pushing you back. Or Venus is acting too much wisely like a Jupiter would do, whereas you are not ready to take on people, you are not ready to act more diplomatically or manipulatively, which a Rahu energy represents, but acting out of more wisdom and not wanting to chase material benefits. And so Venus is acting more like Jupiter during its dasha and antardasha. So only when you are not getting the results out of a particular planet can you truly know what kind of energies it is reflecting during its dasha and antardashas, and what is the actual energy it is showcasing and demonstrating. And hence many times we are confused by why a certain dasha or antardasha is not throwing up the results that we expect out of the planetary energies. One of the reasons could also be conjunctions, bad doshas, a different yoga, or very low energy of the planet. But the other reason could also be that the planet is either acting at its lowest energies or acting at its highest energies, and only when you look at it you will be able to delve down deeply and understand how the planet is behaving, why it is behaving. Generally you will find that the reason could also be a trigger, a catalyst or catalytic behavior by the planet which induces either the highest or the lowest energies. So for example, at its highest energies Venus is expected to behave like Rahu, or at its lowest energies Venus is expected to behave like Jupiter. You will invariably find that one of these, when Venus is acting either like Rahu or like Jupiter, one of these is definitely sharing some energy with Venus, either by aspect or through conjunction, or sitting in the nakshatra of Venus, or placed in conjunction with Venus, or placed in 6th, 8th or 12th from Venus, because of which that particular energy is coming out. So friends, look deeply into your own horoscope, understand the energies that are being reflected by the respective planet, and through that be able to understand how the planet actually behaves at its highest and its lowest energy levels, and then try and understand the dasha and antardasha and the transit accordingly. So friends, now that we have seen at the highest energy levels what does a planet represent, what energies it represents, then at its lowest energy levels what planetary energies it represents, we need to look into our own horoscopes and find out during our dashas and antardashas which have already passed, what was the energy that particular planet was exhibiting during its dasha and antardasha, and what was being influenced or what energies was influencing it. Based on that, we can also look at the coming the antardashas of that planet, what kind of energies it may throw up and why it is throwing up those energies. You will find the influence of either the planet which it acts like at its highest level, or the influence of the planet, which it acts like at its lowest level, some degree of influence will always be there, either through a dosha or through a yoga or through an aspect or being placed in that particular planet's nakshatra or in conjunction. So you will find that these energies come to bear, and these are also what influence the results of the planet at a nakshatra level, energy levels, based on how the energies are acting out. So friends, like this video, share this video, and if you're looking for a personal consultation from me, please reach out to me. The links given below. Until some other time with some other video, this is a friend astrologer and guide signing off. Ciao.